Welcome everybody. We're doing a talk today on the SCA, the Society of Creative Anachronism, and we have a very wise and noble individual here, Gurin, who's going to introduce the SCA to you all. And I'm going to try and turn up the mic a little bit. I'm going to turn up the sensitivity, so hopefully it'll pick up more of your words. And so, Greg, take it away.
Okay. My name's Greg Mendoza. Within the SCA, I go by the name of Gurin Bodo. The SCA stands for the Society for Creative Anachronism. Like Ashley mentioned earlier in chat, it's very much like LARPing in the sense that we are creating a persona and using that persona to study various cultures within the time frame of pre-17th century. We look at everything from sword fighting to, we look at all facets of life that would have been back then. So how they would have done anything at that time is what we're interested in studying. And whereas a Ren Fair is a large interactive play that you're going to go and experience, the SCA is more about learning how to do what they did and doing it yourself. So I personally, my persona is based upon a Mongol of the 12th century, but that's just kind of a starting point for me, and I chose that because my persona and what I was interested in doing was heavies combat, which would use a rattan stick, a solid bamboo stick essentially, to fight people. But I was also interested in combat art at the time. So I looked at the various cultures at the time, or cultures within the pre-17th century, and was really interested in Mongol culture. So that's what I based everything on.
Cool.
So that's kind of where I started, and I've just kind of expanded from there. I've learned things such as Kumihimo, which is a Japanese braiding technique that was used to form 6-foot cords that they would use to tie their armor together with. I've studied various armor making, as well as leather working, weaving, cooking. Just whatever I see that I've enjoyed, I look into how they do and try to learn how they did it at that time. Now the anachronistic part, anachronism means out of time. So I will still use various tools and such of our time to make things that they would use. And I even have tried using various LED lights to replace torch flames so that I don't have to worry about them running all night long. For safety reasons. A lot of our fighting and such is we use rules and we restrict weapon use based upon not wanting to, or being able to hang out with each other after we're done fighting. So we limit our fighting, our targets for fighting from an inch above the knee to the top of the head, excluding the wrist and hands. And then we have armor requirements for all those things.
Yeah, and like if we have a torch, like the rule, what is the rule on like if you have like one of those torches, like it has to have a safety shut off or something?
Yeah, you have to have someone present whenever you have a fire going, and have to have a fire extinguisher nearby. And some kingdoms, some areas don't even allow flames to be open, or any sort of open flame. So the known world, which would be the entire world of the SCA, is a worldwide organization. So we have kingdoms throughout the world, most of which are within the United States. And our kingdom stretches from Madera County to San Diego. And then it essentially goes from Hawaii to Vegas. So that's the area that covers. Now, the next kingdom above us is the West. That kingdom cuts along the coast some and covers covers north of us, further north, all the way up to Oregon, if I recall. So within the Kingdom of the West, they don't even allow open flames within most of their campsites due to fire concerns. Whereas out here in our area, we're allowed to have an open campfire as long as it's 12 inches off the ground and we have a fire extinguisher nearby.
Yeah, so in medieval times, they probably wouldn't have cared about that kind of stuff as much, but we prefer not lighting ourselves on fire. So,
especially with California already being on fire.
yeah. Yeah, like right before war, like it was just, Fresno was just covered in just smoke, and I was so worried that it would be that way when we were camping, but fortunately the wind came in and blew it all out.
Right, plus we were far enough away from our area that we were at a very mild issue for that. Granted, we came back and the dust storm itself made it seem like it was on fire out here.
Yeah. So do you want to talk about households and things like that? Like,
yeah, gladly. So we have, like I stated, we have kingdoms that stretch the entire world. Some that are out in Ireland, some that are in Russia, some that are in Korea. And within a kingdom, you'll have designated areas that would be referred to as baronies. And those baronies, such as our barony within Caid, we are the barony of Nordvaca, and it stretches from Madera County. It's Madera County, Tulare County, Kings County, Fresno County. So those 4 counties are considered the barony of Nordvaca. Now within those baronies, you may have households. A household would be a smaller group within the kingdom or within the barony to get together and hang out. So they may be oriented towards fighting or learning how to make various drinks, alcohol, or vinegar. So they could be involved in a specific art form, or they could just be focused on fighting, or they could be just focused on hanging out together. So.
And so Gurin here is maybe too humble to mention that he organized a fairly large household at war this last weekend, and it was amazingly well coordinated.
I was honored enough to have a great group of people come alongside me to both fight and to hang out and just have fun. And to sing sea shanties throughout the night.
that I'll take credit for, but the rest of it, like when I came in at midnight on Friday because I had to drive down to LA and then back up to Bakersfield, which was a heck of a drive. Greg volunteered to take my tent and he had it set up. So when I came in at midnight, all I had to do was just unroll my sleeping bag and go to sleep, and it was so nice. And then I woke up in the morning and there's like some people cooking and other people cleaning and other people doing this and just it was just like you know, a lot of camping events I've been to have been very sort of chaotic and just this whole time like it was just this well-oiled machine, and the food was amazing, and again I just want to thank you for that, Greg, because it was a really good time.
And that's one of the things that I really enjoy about our groups within the SCA. It's very much oriented towards trying to help one another and make everyone's life better. So, now some people have different methods to go about doing that, but we want everyone to be well and to be happy and to protect one another. So, when I heard that Bill wasn't going to be able to make it until 11 o'clock at night, which ended up pushing back even further, I just said, okay, let's get your tent set up for you so that you're ready to go as soon as you get there. You know, and then I happened to be up when he got there, so I helped him unload his stuff and get it to his tent and try to get things rolling for him.
Yeah.
But we're an honor-based society. I mean, even our combat is based upon when I throw a shot at a person, even if it hits them, it's up to that person to say, that it was of enough force to have killed them. Now, if the person isn't calling any shots and isn't really feeling what I'm throwing, that just means I have to crank it up some. But I'm taking it on honor that he's not just disregarding what I'm throwing or what I'm hitting him with.
Yeah. Yeah, and you'll see it all across the events. Like, somebody's like trying to haul a wagon uphill, and then people will run over and help push it, up the hill. And somebody's struggling carrying their armor. People will run over and help carry them. It's really nice.
When we had Bill's tent set up, he had a gust of wind that decided to take his tent for a walk across the field. And we had 3 other groups run on over to help wrangle his tent and carry it back on over to where it was so that we could stake it back down. Or so we could stake it down and keep it from moving this time.
Yeah. I didn't know my tent was so unruly, Greg. I'll keep it better. I'll keep it on a leash for next time.
Yes, essentially it's like an airsoft war in that regard. And we do actually have projectiles. So we also have, when we have wars and situations like that, we'll use siege weaponry. Cannons, ballistas, and trebuchets to fire off projectiles. And then our rapier community, because we have several different types of fighting, but our rapier community will actually has started using rubber band guns, using surgical tubing to fire off rubber bands that would actually be felt through their various layers.
Yeah, and when you get hit by a siege weapon, you feel it. I got hit by one of those ballistas once at close range. I mean, they put padding on it, but
yeah, they're essentially lots of times bundles of tennis balls, and we actually have combat archery as well. But with the ballistas, I know of one fighter who actually took a shot to the back of their head at fairly close range and got knocked out.
yeah, I don't have any shots of combat archery, or do I? No, I don't. I have target archery. So target archery is like what most people would traditionally consider archery. Yeah. But we don't shoot people in armor with an arrow that looks like that. All right, Greg.
Right. No, the arrowheads that we use are actually very similar to what they would use for what's it called? Arrow tag. It's essentially a 1 1/4 inch padding on the front of an arrow, foam padding, and we use that sizing because if it were to hit a helmet directly, we have a minimum requirement of a 1 inch, or maximum requirement of a 1 inch gap between any opening on a helmet, and that's so that anything that thrusts in will get caught by that. So we use the 1 1/2 inch, and even on the back of the arrows, we have a anti-penetration device, so that if it were to be fallen upon, it wouldn't go, or it were to get knocked and go flying off, it's still not going to go into the helm.
Yeah. So for combat archery, when you're shooting people, there's like a giant kind of tennis ball. It's not as big as a tennis ball, kind of on the tip, and then on the back, because that's actually the most dangerous part of target archery, is like when you walk forward and you don't see an arrow, and you run into the back of it. Right, Greg? Would you agree with that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, I would say that'd be the most dangerous at this point.
And so they put, like Greg said, it looks like a little plastic ring that they attach to the back of it, and it's wide enough that it can't fit through any of the gaps in your helmet, and so it's pretty safe. I mean, how often would you say people get injured doing it?
Combat archery, I haven't heard of any injuries from the combat archery, apart from maybe smacking the back of your hand with a bowstring.
You're right. Yeah. What's the weight limit on the bows there?
It depends upon because there's 2 different ways that you can design your arrows. The heavy bow would be a 35 pound, if I remember correctly.
Yeah. So they're pretty light bows as far as these things go. Because again, you
Another
don't.
one would be crossbows.
Hmm.
We also have crossbow available, and that does. Those are actually like 100-pound draw weights, but it's a crossbow, so it translates differently.
Yeah, because again, we do this to keep our friends. Yeah. We're not trying to hurt each other.
We consider most of the people we fight against frenemies.
We're not trying to kill anyone. So you want to talk a little bit about like the hay bales that they might be wondering about there?
Yeah. Did you have you shared with them the Eyes of the Dragon?
Oh, that's a good one. Yeah, I'm in some of those.
So they actually have ones up from this year.
Oh, already? Wow.
Yeah, they posted one about 14 hours ago for the first one.
Oh, nice.
But we'll use hay bales to make castle outlines or bridge outlines so that we can actually do a bridge battle or a castle campaign of trying to attack and defend a castle. And so we'll use those hay bales.
Yeah, so what you see here, yeah, you can see that there's like an outline of a castle. And do you want to go over the rules for like the stacking of the hay bales?
So, and mind you, this is all a voluntary group. So this war and this castle layout that you see here was all done by the people, many of the people who are actually fighting within this. The day before a lot of the castle battles start, they'll put out a call for people to come and help at the area to build these. And they start as just giant stacks of hay. A couple people will have some hay hooks, a lot of people won't, and just get together and carry things by the ropes around the hay. Lay out whatever the battle master says we'll need. And this year they stacked them low like this, but they would tell people you're not allowed to throw shots over the hay bales. And pretty much everyone would abide by that. Some of them may need to be reminded from time to time. You'll see the various people standing on hay bales. For the most part, those are marshals. Now, a marshal on a fighting field isn't like a boxing referee. It's more of a safety officer. They're there to remind people the rules, which is not swinging over a hay bale, and to keep an eye out for any issues that may cause a safety issue.
Like if somebody falls over or something and they're getting stepped on.
Or a piece of armor fails, or a sword or a spear breaks, or in tournament situations, lots of times we'll have people that just get too close to the tournament field. And when you're throwing the shot, there's always the possibility that you'll swing wide and it'll actually swing outside of the field area. And as such, we want to keep kids from wandering in, so they'll keep an eye out for that sort of situation.
Yeah, so I think on this situation, you're allowed to stab over a 2-high. You can't jump over it. And so they had a little window here, and the people have spears, and they can spear people this way. And so you can see that they have a setup here where these people on the outside are trying to kill everybody inside of the castle, and so you got a bunch of shields overlapping here with the shield wall. And they're protecting that way, and then you got a shield wall over here. These are our friends from Bakersfield over here. And then you got some guys with spears here. And so the people that go in, they get attacked from 3 different sides. So they're going to just rush in once they get close, and they're going to just try and then he's probably going to die real fast. And he's probably going to die really fast. And so you can see him charging in like that, knocking the hay bales over. If you get and that guy got stabbed in the back, so he's dead now. Now this guy was trying to block the spear guys here, but he got hit from the side, and so he's dead and he's walking off. And And so these are the Bakersfield people, and you can see them kind of pulling back a little bit here. You got a whole shield wall over here. Would this be a resurrection battle, Greg, where the attackers keep resurrecting? And you can see people just call shots. Like that guy, he got killed. So he got killed. Bam, he got hit on the back of his head, so he puts up his hand. He's like, I'm dead. Don't hit me. I'm leaving. And this guy's attacking around the hay bale here. This guy's going to try charging in and breaking the shield wall. Yeah, he's getting through, I guess. He's dead now. Yeah. Wall's all messed up over here. And then they have a back entrance over here where everybody just lines up single file. And you basically fight a bunch of one-on-one battles over there. And it's pretty common to just try and knock people over the hay bale, because if you knock somebody over the hay bale, then they're dead. Right? So if you're dead, I think for this battle, Ashley, if you're on defense, the people holding the castle, when you die, you just leave. And you go hang out on the side of the field until the battle's over. And then I think, Greg, do you know if this is a resurrection battle, like the offense resurrects? Greg, you still there? Oh, he's muted. Oh, he must have left and rejoined.
Yes, I did. Thank you.
Yeah. Sorry.
No, this was not a resurrection battle.
Okay.
So what would happen once you died, you would step out, such as some of these people are doing off to the right now, and they'll go out and get some water. They did a very good job of keeping things moving throughout the day for this event. So we had a lot of, so there was only about a 3-minute downtime between battles. Right now a hold is being called, probably to clear the dead, which is why you see the fight stop for a few. Now you see everyone starting to get ready to go again, and fights, so they called lay on at this point. So you see how the fight's going. But up in the top area here, that was actually a sewer entrance to the castle. And they had set up on this year's castle so you could have the opposing team come in through a second way.
And so this shield wall here can get attacked feasibly from the backside if these guys come in. So this shield wall here is held pretty well, but if these guys clear the backside, then these guys are all going to get death from behind, you know? Yep, it's kind of fun. All right. Yeah, so the Eyes of the Dragon, they have drones that fly above the battlefield, and
they put them up on YouTube on Brown Falcon Productions.
Yeah, I'm in some of these. Somewhere. Doesn't matter. But you can see that there's a lot of people that go to these events. Greg, how big was Great Western War this year?
This year was a small war. I think we only had about 1,600 people arrive. But you try to think, for each one of these fighters you have on the field, there's probably at least 1 to 3 people off the battlefield, off doing other things. Either taking classes on learning how to do, they had a class on bookbinding, they had classes on bead making, cheese making, all sorts of things. These tall bales here that you see in this video, that would actually be the how the hay bales were before they laid them out for the castle battles.
See if there's any combat archers around here. Let's see. See if we can get some shots of combat archery. They typically do combat archery every other fight, right?
Yes.
Yeah, there's a combat archer.
Because after a fight, a combat archer would then have to gather the arrows, make sure that they're not broken or damaged, before they can go back out on the field.
6 foot and under battle? Really? They did a fight for people that are short? Is that what that means? Or is that weapon length?
Probably that's going to be weapon.
Okay, alright. I was about to feel discriminated against there.
So you'll see most of the spears are short spears,
Yeah.
which is the gentleman in white on the left, bottom left.
Right. These are the Vegas guys here.
Yeah, that would be the barony of Starkoffen.
So yeah, the weapons are not comfortable to be hit by. Like, this is wood, you know. It's not like LARPing in the sense of like, you know, we're hitting with foam weapons or something, you know. But like, yeah, this is Great West from above. So you can see this is the so people camp along the lake. This is Bakersfield's kind of like over that way. So it's a real pretty campsite, and Greg, you want to talk about like the merchants and things like that there?
Yeah, so whereas a Ren Fair is more about trying to sell you things just because you want them, SCA, even though we're more about experiencing what fight would be and all the various things that they do within medieval times, we still need things. So there'll be merchants out there selling various armor pieces, clothing, cups, plates. One of my favorite merchants to actually go to just sells trim for clothing.
Callantyre trim.
Yeah.
Mm-hmm.
They sell beautiful trim.
Yeah.
And I'm lucky enough to have my wife who makes beautiful garb for me to wear. And that's just the word we use for clothing. It means the same thing.
So there's a couple food trucks too.
Yeah. So, and that's one of the nice things about the area that we camp in. We where we currently have our group, it's very much set towards just being close to everything.
Let's see.
So this is an older over-the-air shot of, this is from the last Great Western War before the current one. No, this is 2018, not 19.
So like right.
I think we're linked for a combat archery radio.
Oh, you found one?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah. So in the center part of the thing, they have like a stage where they do dances and things like that. Our campsite's like right here, right? I think somewhere around there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
right there.
Oh, it's a first-person camera. Oh, that's cool. That's really cool. Yeah. Yeah. Normally, Great Western War is like what, 3,000 people? Is that what you said?
Yeah, usually it's about 3,000 to 4,000 people. This year was much lighter due to how quickly it happened and everything came together.
Mm-hmm.
And a lot of people backed out just because of COVID and being afraid of contagion and such. As a matter of fact, we even had a couple of cases, but that also shows you the dedication to each other that we have over there. Someone showed up, they showed up, started feeling ill, left immediately, went to go get a test, had a PCR test done. It came back as positive, so they let everyone who they got into contact with know and didn't come back to site, even though they had paid $70 to be there.
Yeah, I know somebody was asking about the cost of it. Do you want to talk about how expensive it is?
Yeah, for many events, it ranges anywhere from $10 to $20 for a day event, depending on where it's at and what the situation is. That goes usually to the rental area for the site. And then a lot of the overnight events usually end up being $50 to $70. And this event was a $70 for 350 square feet for your tent and to set up everything. But we then could pay extra to, and that there would be the APD, anti-penetration device. But we paid $70. I ended up paying $70 for myself, and then $70 for my wife, and another $35 for our child, for our youth, and had a great time with it. We also spent a little bit more for extra land, so we could set up our tents, or so we could set up a kitchen for everyone to use.
Yeah, but I mean, also the $70 also includes like them bringing hot showers in, which because the event is an entire week long, right? Like it's a 7-day event.
Yeah, this is $70 per person for a week-long event. You can be there from Tuesday until that Saturday. You could even stay until Monday.
Until Monday.
People leave on to Sunday.
Yeah. Yeah, and they provide hot water showers and electricity and
usually hot water showers. Sometimes the showers are cold because when we have this, there's usually fire season going on, and the fire departments get first dib on showers, which is why we only had 2 shower trucks this year.
Yeah. Thing to hit people. Yeah, but like, what about our local fighter practices? How much do those cost?
Now, our local fighter practices are free to attend. If you were to come and start being involved with us, the one thing that I would that also the cost of the event also includes the porta potty rentals. You'll see some right there, and stocking everything. But if you were to come to practice, our practices are on Tuesday in Clovis right now. We are considering a change in venue soon, but if that were to happen, we'll be happy to let everyone know, and we'll put all that information out on our Facebook page. But the practices are free to attend. There's no cost for that. But I do take the approach of trying to teach you how to safely throw a shot, how to defend yourself, and the safety rules of the field, including things such as what your safe word is when fighting.
What's the safe word?
The safe word on the field is hold. Whenever you hear hold, everyone stops what they're doing and looks around to make sure that everyone is safe and to see where the problem is so that we can continue to fight and hang out with people afterwards.
What if somebody just wants to come to like kind of meet everybody and get, kind of like, if they're just, even if they're not going to fight, can they still come to the fighter practice and just like meet everybody and stuff?
Everyone's invited to the fighter practices. The one thing that we are doing currently is we do have a contact tracing form that we ask anyone attending to fill out so that we can so that we can pass that information on to the local health department if someone were to come back from a practice with a positive. So, but my wife actually attends practice with us as well. She's the chatelaine, which is someone that helps to introduce people to the SCA and help get people set up for an event, such as the event we have this weekend actually in Hanford. We have our anniversary event. There'll be heavy fighting. There'll be rapier, target archery, thrown weapons. So all of those will be available out there. For some of them, you do need to be authorized. That's just to make sure that you're being safe while doing those things.
So how many times would somebody need to come to fighter practice to get authorized?
Number of times that you would need to arrive, get authorized. Authorization really comes down to knowing the rules. We have a fighter's handbook that we share with people. There's no requirement for a number of practices. It just comes down to if the marshal feels that you're safe. And being that I'm the baronial marshal, it comes down to if I feel that you're being safe on the field and going through we'll ask you some questions about the requirements such as target areas, safety use, what materials are used for different things, armor requirements, like I said, target areas, things like that. And once you are able to demonstrate that, and it also includes a couple fights out on the field with a known authorized fighter, that we can make sure that you're actually performing well.
Okay. All right. So thank you, Greg. I'm going to just wrap up the last 20 minutes now, just kind of flipping through the photos that I have prepped, and just hang out and comment as well. Steph, do you want to say anything? It was Steph's first event this last Saturday. Do you want to say anything about your opinion on it, Steph? No? Okay. Rumbling. Okay. I'll just mute her. Okay. So, I'm going to just go back to my presentation here, and I'm just going to run through some photos. Yeah, one of the big things about the SCA is people are like really fascinated by history. We try to recreate history. And there's always kind of like a little bit of tension between like being authentic as possible and like having life be kind of nice and convenient. So like, do you sit on uncomfortable wooden furniture, or do you get like a cat chair from REI? You know, like, and so different groups kind of have different takes on that. Like some groups, like everything you have within their campsite, like a fork is going to be made by hand, but you know, and every table and everything is just 100% medieval. Personally, I camp in an REI tent. You know, I'm, you know, it just is just kind of convenient for me to do that. You'll see people are all wearing their garb as they're going around these events. That's kind of fun. At a fighter practice, you don't need to worry about it. Just, you know, if you want to come and meet people, just come show up in athletic wear and stuff. So, yeah, we say it's the Middle Ages as they should have been. So no Black Death, you know. There's three main things that people do in the SCA. There's combat, there's arts and sciences, and there's socializing. And so heavy combat, which is what Gurin was talking about, we basically hit each other with rattan that's thicker than an inch, because the holes in our helmets are an inch big at max, so they have to be bigger than that. And we have swords and pole arms and two-handed swords and stuff like that. And rattan is kind of flexible, so it's not like you're going to break somebody's bone necessarily when you hit them with it. Oh, you're driving? Yeah, no worries. SCA is a lot of fun, very immersive, even the bathrooms. 10 out of 10. Yeah, that's fair. Yeah, so we wear armor because getting hit by like essentially a thick broomstick, you know, will hurt. So we wear armor to make it not hurt and to keep our sensitive bits like our fingers all covered. So the minimum armor protection. I should put hands on there as well. And at fighter practice, they have loaner gear. So if you show up and you want to try putting on armor, Greg, how many sets of D&D or Crusader cosplays allowed? Yeah, that's fine. Greg, how many sets of loaner gear do we have? Do you know?
I think we have about 3 complete sets of loaner gear right now. I'm actually also in the process of trying to make some of the other sizes, because a lot of our guys are larger fighters. But we have more younger people starting to join on. They're a bit more fit than me and some of the other fighters.
Mm-hmm.
So.
Yeah. Yeah. So Ashley asked, "Do you have to fight to be part of the SCA?" Oh, heavens no.
Not at all.
Like probably, you know, 2/3 of the people at war don't fight. Would you say, Greg? Maybe more.
I'd say about 2/3 don't fight.
Yeah. Yeah. So.
I didn't suit up once this year.
Yeah, I didn't either. I was looking at how closely packed everybody was, and I was just like, not in a pandemic. I'm good.
Yeah, if I would have gone out, I would have continued to wear my mask, even though everyone says, or per the current rules, you don't need to wear your mask when you're fighting, or you. But honestly, when you're fighting, you're pretty much right on top of one another. So you need a mask at that point. You have a higher chance of
Yeah,
something.
yeah. I just wasn't comfortable with it, so I just hung out basically. Yeah, so the rules are basically if you hit somebody hard in the head or the body, they're dead. If you get hit in the arm, you lose the arm. If you get hit in the leg, you lose the leg. And yeah, so there's certain minimum armor standards, and Greg said he's got three sets of armor. So if you want to come and try it out, this is you remember John, Greg.
That again?
This is John Sedano, I think.
Yeah, that was John Sedano.
Johannes. Yeah. So that's up at North Fork.
Yeah, up in North Fork, there was a little pool area. We actually even had another fighter get into the water with him and actually do some exchanges there. So,
And
other epic shots.
yeah, that photograph is just amazing. Yeah, it's just a really cool shot. He made the belt himself, right? I think.
Yes.
Yeah. Yeah. Pretty.
That would be known as a kidney belt. It protects. So the areas required for armor are your head, your neck, your kidneys, your joints, and your groin.
Yeah. So this is my outfit. You can see me in my extremely period sneakers here. My extremely period athletic pants. I am wearing a tunic, which is like a medieval t-shirt, but you can see my helmet here. I got plate armor on my arms there, and then my shield with my device on it. That's Ada in the background there. And that's my buddy who lives in Utah. He comes out for most Great Western Wars, and he and I are about the same size, and so the two of us will fight side by side and like hold the shield wall together. And it's a lot of fun when there's just like all these dudes and they're pushing on you and you're like pushing back, and like we were holding like one of those sewer entrances like you saw earlier, and the two of us were just standing there for like a long time, and they're just like everyone's just trying to push us out, and we're just like, you know. And then I hear something down from my feet, and there's somebody on the ground like trying to crawl underneath my shield, you know, so you can come in and like stab us from behind. I'm like, no. And I like hit him with my sword. No. Bad dog. You know. Yeah, it's very fun. So there's me. I think this was the first war that I fought at. My wife took some photos. You can see my arms here are leather instead of plate, as they are now. And so I'm holding. There's like a window. This is a castle battle, and there's like a window that people could actually come in through. And I was defending it with my spear kind of thing here. And then here's a buddy of mine, Kelson. I haven't seen this guy in a while. He works though as a bouncer in Tower District, and we were attacking that window here. You can't see it because it's from the side, but there's like a hay bale, and you can kind of go over it. And so what Kelson did was he ran forward, killed the guy guarding it. Then he went down on his hands and knees, and then people would run up, jump on him, and jump over the bale to come into the castle from the side, which was pretty epic, honestly. And we're all just jumping off his cloak. And this dude doesn't wear, like, you can see he's like got just exposed skin everywhere and doesn't care, you know. He made all this armor too. Maybe not the helmet, but he made all the rest of it. He makes boots. He's a boot maker too, and he's a leather worker. Gurin does leather, right, Gurin?
Yes, I do some leather.
Yeah, and so these are our friends from Bakersfield, and so I think that's Kara. Is that Kara fighting there, Gurin? Kind of looks like her.
Yeah, that appears to be Kara and probably Raynor behind her.
Yeah. So this is a guy who was coming in with like a little two-handed sword kind of thing, and so you can see that she was actually the head marshal for the war this year, and so you can see he's like coming down on her head, and then she like knocks it out of the way. Little two shots here. You can see how she like deflects his sword down, pins it with a shield, and then if that's Raynor, he's probably going to come in and whack the guy over the head right there. So little action montage there. She's very skilled. She's a very skilled fighter.
Yeah, she became a knight a couple of years back, and that actually kind of dovetails into the question posed by Daniel. So, as a fighter, you can just be a standard fighter, And then as you continue to fight, you could end up finding a knight to squire you. And then you become a squire and learn from that knight. And then eventually, the Knights Council, depending upon your aptitude on the field of battle, may choose you to become a knight and join their ranks. And some of those knights have gone on. So every year, twice a year, we have a tournament to decide who the next king of our area will be. And that is a big thing to become the king of the realm of the area for 6 months. So to do that multiple times, you become a duke. And I believe that's actually Alexander to the left in the photo.
Mm-hmm.
And he's actually been king twice now.
So he's a duke
and the
now.
more often you become a king, you become a duke, then you become a super duke. You're just like, okay, this guy just goes out there and keeps winning. So you can gain great renown by becoming as a fighter. And some fighters have a lot of flourish to their fighting. They'll do spinning shots and things like that. But a lot of this is, depending on how much flourish you use, you may end up becoming a target.
Yeah, if you have a really fancy thing on your head, like this guy's got like a mohawk, like the Spartan kind of thing here.
The horsehair plume.
Yeah, here's me getting yeeted over a bale. So the guy here just charged for it. I didn't see him, and just ran into me with his shield, and he just like whoop. And I'm a big dude, and this dude just like pulverized me right across this hay bale here. And my wife, of course, caught that shot. She didn't catch me, heroically stabbing. No, she got it when I'm like, like looks like I'm a corpse there, But this guy literally just knocked me ass over tea kettle right over the hay bale while there's a fight going on, mind you. Here's Greg and me at our college. So this is at Clovis Community College, and we did a demo in 2015 or something like that.
Yeah, that was a lot of fun.
And so you can see here, I'm probably gonna get Gurin on the back of the head, and Gurin is in the process of hitting me right on my ass, and so it's a matter of winning the battle and losing the war, because I couldn't sit down for a week after that. I had a rectangular bruise right across my ass cheek, for the next week. So it's like, yeah, I won. Ow, I can't sit down. And you can see I got leather armor on most of the pieces here. Beneath my athletic pants here, I have hockey legs. So they do a reasonably good job protecting my shins and knees and things like that. You wear a cup to protect the groin. There's a kidney belt here. Gorget to protect the neck. Helmet, obviously, to protect your head. That's the most important thing. And then most of our swords have like a basket hilt on them to keep our fingers safe. And then I've got these like gloves that are kind of motorcycle gloves that harden under impact. And then Greg here has a red belt on, indicating that he's a squire. I'm not wearing any belt, obviously, because I am nothing in the SEA. And then he's got some cool illustrations on his shield. He's got a shield boss here, protect his hand.
Yes, that's the other thing about the SCA, is that whenever you join the SCA, whenever you start coming, you are a minor noble. Everyone in the SCA is a noble. There are no peasants within the SCA unless that's what you choose to take yourself down to. But you start playing as a nobleman. And then you can become a greater nobleman eventually by winning crown or continuing to serve and help other people. So
yeah. So there's archery, there's combat archery where you fight in the field battles and stuff like that, and there's target archery. They do fun shoots sometimes. So here's a shot of my good friend Allison. So she's got a Chinese persona, and so this is a target range you can see in the background here. And so they'll do tournaments, and you can qualify and win ranks and things like that in archery. I'm pretty bad at it, so I never bother. Were you gonna say something, Greg?
Right, draw a link. On the right, wait on
I was just laughing at Stephanie's gift.
The Holy Grail.
Yeah. And I do vote for my king. I actually participate in the crown tournament. If the king is not good enough to beat me, he doesn't get my vote.
So that's one way of putting it.
Out of the tournament.
There's also thrown weapons, which I forgot to mention. So they do thrown weapons too: knives, axes, javelins, spears, chopsticks. We threw chopsticks once in a tournament. That was cool. Like sharpened metal chopsticks. I am the winner of the second place in all of Southern California Thrown Weapons Award. Team battle. Did you know that, Greg? I'm that good at thrown weapons.
Very nice.
Yeah, there were two teams. There were two teams that entered, and we lost. They figured more teams would show up. Only two teams showed up. It was me, that is terrible at throwing weapons. There was a friend of mine who had never thrown weapons before in her life. There was another friend who had never thrown weapons before in her life, and my buddy, the other giant dude, who is better than me, but still not great at throwing weapons. And so we went up against, who's the guy that organizes thrown weapons, Greg, in our barony?
That would be Mike Bolton.
Yeah. So him and his wife and like two other people that like run the range. Our entire combined score for 4 people was lower than their lowest person. That's how lopsided the thing was. But we got a trophy because we were second place. So I've got like this cool little trophy. It's up on my wall. What's that for? I'm the second best thrown weapons person in all of Southern California. Yeah, ninja stars. Yeah, I think they have ninja stars, right, Greg?
Some people use the name's eluding me right now, but the throwing knife associated with Naruto.
Gotcha.
Another ninja style, Asian style movies.
Oh, and bolos. That's a thing too.
Yeah.
Bolos are a thing. If you guys know what a bolo, it's like a rope thing you throw and it hits and it wraps around. So, thrown those before. Rapier. Greg is thinking about starting rapier up here, and it's kind of a less kind of combat than heavy's fighting.
Whereas heavy fighting is mimicking war, rapier is mimicking a gentleman's battle to the cut. So it's just about a gentle slice across the skin, essentially, with a very sharp sword. You'll have pull cuts, push cuts, thrust to the anywhere on the body, and the target range is top of the head to your feet.
And so Steph and I talked to this woman here when they were wrapping up their fighting, and her husband were like kind of packing up, and they were very nice, and they kind of talked to us for like 10 minutes or so, and told us like where they got their gear and swords and things like that. And it's fun. I've only done rapier a couple times, but it's a lot of fun. It's you can see the armor style is different from this kind of stuff, because all they really need to do is wear clothing that won't penetrate a sword, and they're not sharp swords either. They're kind of flexible. They're not as flexy as like a foil. If you've done fencing before, they're like really floppy. Rapiers are a little bit stronger than a foil, but they'll still bend if you stab into them. So so like back in the day, if there was a duel of honor, like people would get rapiers and they would stab each other until one was cut, and then they would lose. And so that's kind of what rapier is about. And a lot of people actually would get into duels and then like rub salt into the wounds so that they would have like a scar on their cheek back in the day. Like pre-World War I Germany, like it was considered like you have to, like if you went to college, you would probably join a dueling society and intentionally get into a fight and intentionally get a scar and intentionally rub salt on it so that everybody could see that you were a man of honor. It's kind of a weird thing, but yeah, that tradition lasted up until World War I, really. There's youth combat where kids hit each other with Nerf weapons, basically. My daughter's done that. It's a lot of fun. Okay, and then for the people that don't do fighting, I'm gonna have to wrap this up in about 10 minutes because I got a dinner thing to go to. But Ashley was asking, do you have to fight? The answer is absolutely no. And most of the people who go to it are more into like the history and making soap and like book binding and like dyeing, like not dying, like dyeing clothes. You know, like that's a whole thing. My sister is really big into all things fiber arts. That means everything clothing related. And she will spin thread and weave it into cloth and make trim. And if you give her a sheep, she can give you a cloak. You know, is basically what it amounts to. And she kind of specializes in Viking era clothing. And these people, like, they get into it. Like, they'll stare at inscriptions of, like, there's, like, rune stones, and somewhere on the rune stone, there's, like, a carving of a person. They stare at it, and they're like, all right, does the thing go above their knee or below the knee? You know, and they're, like, trying to, like, measure it out and figure out, you know, is that a buckle? I don't think they had buckles back then. It kind of looks like a buckle, you know? Well, they could have invented the buckle, but that would have blown my mind because they didn't have buckles back then, but it looks like a buckle. I don't, you know, and they'll sit there and really like get into the history on it. It's a lot of fun for them. And for me, my wife does the Kumihimo, the cord making and embroidery as well. There's a whole bunch of things involving sewing and cutting and designing, and usually for Christmas I can just ask my sister and she'll make me something, you know, a tunic or something. There's also leatherworking, woodworking, metalworking. They had blacksmithing demos, I think, a couple days at War this year, where like they would teach you how to do blacksmithing. Calligraphy is a big thing because all of the awards you get in the SCA, somebody will hand do the award, you know, and these people like get into it too. Like they get into it hard. Like, all right, what century's lettering do you want? You know, 12th century, 13th century, black, like, you know, what ink do you like? And they'll illuminate it. And like, I watched a guy, I hung out with it. Do you know Tomas, Greg? Or he's down in
Tomas.
He's in San Diego. Tomas the Scribe, I think he calls himself. Thomas the Scribe.
Yeah, he's like the head scribe.
Yeah. I was hanging out with him a couple years ago, and I was just watching him like make an award for somebody, and he didn't make any mistakes. like, I was like, how do you do that? Like, how do you not make mistakes? He's like, well, just don't make mistakes. I don't know. I don't tell you. And he's just like talking to me, and he's just like, let's see if I can find a shot of this kind of stuff. Yeah, kind of like this. And so, you know, he's just like illuminating it and like doing like all these things, and he's just freehanding it. Like these things look like they're printed. He's just freehanding it, and it just comes out perfect. And there's like a certain brush technique and all this stuff, and he has ink that is made from black walnut. I like, he was explaining all this stuff to me, and I was like, respect. You know, like it's pretty amazing, you know. And tell her to teach you. Tell her, oh, my sister. Yeah, my sister's in San Diego, but I can have her come up at some point and do a thing on fiber arts. So there's baby Ada, that's 2-year-old Ada there at War, and a couple outfits. There's my friend Amir.
We even have a group that meets up pretty much weekly to talk about sewing and how to sew various garb. And then Kumihimo, I'd be happy to show you that.
Yeah, that'd be cool. Yeah, so here's my friend Amir. He just came to check out War one time, and you can see it, like, people can wear a t-shirt and shorts, and it's not a big deal. It's just people have fun kind of putting on garb and walking around. This is my sister. She sewed this whole thing herself, you know. Then Allison's putting up her hair, because we're going to go out. They have a dance every Saturday night, not this year, but most Saturday nights they have a dance, and if you want to learn to dance in 15th century Italian court dances, they have live musicians, and they play music, and they teach you the dance, and you dance, and it's pretty fun. I play the violin or viola, or I used to. I haven't recently because my spirit got crushed by some people. Yeah, yeah, I love traditional Irish music, and so I inflict my music upon Greg and people like that. I also love sea shanties, and so we had a sea shanty night on Saturday night, and they were gracious enough to humor me for about an hour. I printed up a book of sea shanties, and so we did that, and a group of people came in, and I'm like, you guys want to do sea shanties? Like, yeah, we love sea shanties. So we did a couple sea shanties with them, which, was fun. Yeah. So at nighttime, there's dancing and music and singing and stuff like that. And that's something that's kind of lost from modern society. It's like, if you look at all human societies across the centuries, all of them have a tradition of music and singing together and dancing together and making, and when I mean music, I mean making music together. Nowadays, like, you go to a concert, right? And people yell at you, stop singing along with the canons in the 1812 overture. Dun, 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 boom! You know, shh, I can't hear the cannons. You know, and we've lost that group communal spirit, I think. And I really think it brings people closer together when people sing together, when people dance together. You're talking about thousands of years of human history, and nowadays it's like you just go and you watch people make music. And if you sing along with the lyrics, shh, I came here to listen to Offspring sing it, not you. I don't care that you can sing Pretty Fly for a White Guy. I want to hear the Offspring sing it, you know? And kind of reminds you of Renaissance fairs. Yeah, Renaissance fairs aren't participatory as much, though. Like for Ren fairs are a commercial enterprise, by the way. And so you go there to buy stuff. You go there to buy hair products and things like that. SCA is very much participatory. You go there and everybody sings and everybody cooks and everybody learns how to make soap and books and stuff like that. So I love it. There's really some deep element of human nature that I think it taps into, to have everybody sitting around a campfire, drinking, eating, singing together, that I think is just lost in other elements of our society. It's kind of sad, honestly. So, and then dancing. They, like I said, they do dances every night. So there's me around a campfire playing the viola. I had a bunch of sheet music printed out. I probably should have memorized it, but whatever. I always get nervous that I'm going to forget things. Like when the people came in to sing the sea shanties, like I wasn't prepped for it, and I screwed up "Shave His Belly with a Rusty Razor." Like how do you screw that up? So I always like to have notes just in case. And then I'm playing this, and a Russian woman comes by. She's like, "Oh, can I play your viola?" I'm like, "Sure, why not?" And so this random woman comes by, and she like retunes my viola, which kind of, I put on a frowny face at that because it was in tune. And then she proceeds to play the Tchaikovsky violin concerto on a viola, which was pretty amazing, to be honest. She didn't play the whole thing. She just like started into it. I was like, I'll just sit down now. Here's sea shanties.
Blow the man down. They're all shippers, sailors aboard the Black Ball. Give me some time to blow the man down. When a black ball,
so
miners are leaving her dock to me way. Blow the man down.
So you got people sitting around a fire,
singing, all
singing,
shippers, sailors,
singing, and then dancing. Do you need a flutist? Sure, of course. She was a good girl. Dancing. That red-haired woman there, I think, does it professionally. Like, you can see she's like kicking up her feet, Irish dance style. Okay, we got 3 minutes left. Yeah, so then the third big part of SCA is socializing. At fighter practices, it's mostly just fighters coming out and hitting each other with swords and getting some exercise in. But there's a group of people that also kind of sit off to the side and they just sit there and talk. And Ashley, if you want to show up and play your violin, I will sing with you most definitely. There's camping, like if you like camping trips, like there's camping, there's feasting, like people will make these giant, productions of food, and then they get into it with like the medieval plates and silverware and stuff like that. I use paper plates, and I did get a pitcher and some mugs that were made by a craftswoman who made them in the 15th century. Hello, child. Oh yeah, you're wearing your outfit. Nice. So, there you go. So Ada dressed up for that. That's funny. And so I had some mugs there that were period, and stuff like that, and they're beautiful. There's brewing also. Steph made a really nice mulled wine, not moldy wine, mulled wine, M-U-L-L, mulled wine, and it was absolutely delicious. She made it out of pumpkin spices, which I've never heard. A mulled wine is like a spiced wine. You take wine, you add spices to it. It's a traditional Thanksgiving, Christmas time thing. A crock pot, put some cinnamon and stuff, cloves and stuff like that into it. And she used pumpkin spices, which I've never heard of anybody doing before. And like lemon juice, apple juice, and some other things if you want to share your secret recipe. It was incredibly good. And so we went through 4 bottles of it in relatively short order. And so, brewing is another part of it. There's a brewers guild, and like another guy brought his own homemade pomegranate wine. And if you're under 21, then don't pay no attention to that part of it. But yeah, like at nighttime, people eat, they drink, they dance, they sing. Some groups like go to the effort of like putting on entire stage productions and things like that. But it's, there's that whole element of it too, which is a lot of fun. And that's usually at like the big events, there's not going to be people bringing booze to fighter practices and things like that usually. So that's, And so some people have period tents, and some people have REI tents. And so like, here's war, so probably that's not probably historically accurate, but it's funny. And so, it's, that's it, I think. So this is our group from this last Saturday, and these 2 people were new. It's Greg there. These are the Baron and the Baroness, and the upcoming Baron and the Baroness, who kind of run the Fresno, Merced, Madera, Kings area, Siri, and Casey, and so they're all really nice people, and they're really helpful, and it's just a lot of fun. So our fighter practices are Letterman Parks, Tuesdays from 6 to 8 ish. You don't have to pay anything. You just kind of can show up and just find out about it. And there is an event on Sidon. There's an event Greg said on Saturday or something. If you want to post the information on that, I'm not going to it. I'm going to be. Is that tomorrow? Tomorrow's Thursday or tomorrow's Saturday. I'm going to be down in LA again. I'm making that trip again, and back up. I'm driving down to LA and back up tomorrow. So Greg, is that tomorrow or is it next week for the event?
Yes, that would be tomorrow.
Tomorrow, okay. So can people just show up to that?
I'm pulling up the event right now to share with everyone.
Okay.
I'll pull up the Facebook link for the event.
Okay. Yeah, so if you guys go to that, I won't be there, but Greg's there. He's this guy. He's a really nice dude. He's one of my favorite individuals in this world. So just go up and tell him that you're new. And Siri here is the chatelaine, who's the person in charge of new people. Make sure they feel welcome and stuff like that. So they're all just super nice people. I like them a lot. And then so for events, there's a charge because they have to rent the site and stuff like that, and it's usually not too unreasonable. So that's my presentation. Any questions?
If you want to just come on out and check things out, feel free to come on by. If you're not paying for gate, you'll just be asked to not be doing anything like the archery, throwing weapons or anything like that, but feel free to roll about and see what's going on and see what you think about it.
So if they pay though, they can throw daggers and knives and stuff?
They can get authorized to do that, yeah.
Okay. And then, because I know,
Great.
are they going to have loaner garb at the event tomorrow?
We're not going to have loaner garb on site.
Okay.
The loaner garb, we usually meet with people beforehand, get them set up for that.
And I know some of my students have done archery before too, so could they like bring their bow and arrow and shoot some arrows there?
The bows that we prefer to see on site would be more traditional, either a longbow or a recurve that wouldn't be a breakdown recurve, is what most people would have.
So no compound
Feel free to
bows.
bring it and we'll see what we can do.
Okay, awesome. Well, thank you so much for spending your afternoon / early evening with me, Greg. I gotta get to dinner now. Thanks to all of you for coming out and listening to me talk about a nerdy hobby.
Have a wonderful dinner, and I look forward to meeting you all.
Awesome, cool. And so, if you want the extra credit, just type up what you learned today and get extra credit for it too. All right, see y'all.